up until several years ago, they thought the giant squid out of Japan, off the coast of Japan, was, giant squid was a cryptid. It was mythological. Over time had reported these creatures, that can engulf ships and the Kraken and things like that. And,
watching that thing disappear.
Yes.
It was almost like a straight line. It was like it went behind a straight line and it was gone. Just completely gone.
And it did. It was like it slipped into it went into a house or something. It just all of a sudden it just went
it went behind a wall.
Like it went behind a wall. That's where people start to ask the question, is it possible that there are some sort, and I know this is a stretch, but is it possible that they could be going into some sort of a portal or interdimensional being that can move into, thank you very much, Vesta, stepping into another place, for lack of a better word? Yes, we are stepping into a different place. Hey, everybody. How you doing? Jeff Freeman here with JFree906 podcast. Mike Owen in the co-host chair tonight. How you doing, Mike?
I am doing well, but I am not at home. I am on vacation someplace just west of Denver.
Ah, okay. West of Denver, Colorado. All right.
Yes.
So are you doing some Bigfoot hunting or what you...
that we'll keep an eye out on the way, but we're on our way to Utah, which some folks may know that there's a ranch in northern Utah. It's considered the epicenter of the strangest and most disturbing phenomenon on Earth. No, I'm not going to Skinwalker. Going to Southwest Utah to do a little skiing. So this is our big winter trip.
Well, if you're going to be in the woods, keep those twin optical sensors going and be watching.
I'm going to have my cell phone out and ready.
Yeah, there you go. Because you never know what you just might find. That's really cool. Well, I tell you what, I thank you very much for taking time out of your vacation to co-host the show tonight. I mean, you didn't have to, but I really appreciate it.
This is fun. That's what vacations are all about, having fun. Why would I not come?
I know.
Of course.
That's exactly right. Oh my goodness. Well, I tell you what, it feels like I've been on vacation, certainly because of all the things that I've been doing lately and the people that I've been meeting. And I had the pleasure today to meet Seth. He is Sethbound. He's in the chat here tonight. Hi, Seth. How you doing? And we had lunch together today, and it was awesome. I love meeting fans of the show. Not so much this show, but I mean, if there are fans, I guess, thank you very much. But fans of the shows that we watch, Expedition Bigfoot, Skinwalker Ranch, and as Seth and I were talking today, he said, that his interests are like mine. And we were talking about that a little bit. I thought, it's kind of crazy because, I started off talking, recently in the last couple of years, talking about the Curse of Oak Island, and then Beyond Oak Island, and then Skinwalker Ranch, and then Bigfoot, and then UFOs, UAPs, and then, treasure hunting and metal detecting. I mean, I'm all over the place, and it's fun to find people that have that same kind of, interest in those things as well. And Seth is one of them. So we discovered that, and he gave me a gift today, and I wanted to show this. This is a leather-bound journal, and it is handmade by Seth himself.
Very cool.
He binds them together. He does the leather work and everything on it. And this, I mean, it makes me feel like Indiana Jones. Remember how he had that leather journal that was actually his father's, but this is so cool. And I thank you, Seth. This was an awesome gift that he gave me today at lunch. And I haven't started writing in it, but the very first log entry is going to be that I had lunch with the guy who made this thing, Mr. Seth. So thank you so very much. I really appreciate that. So that's been the awesome part of all the traveling around and everything that I've been doing, is the opportunity to meet people. It really truly has, and explore at the same time. I got quite the weekend lined up here I'm in Texas. Let's see. Somebody just said that. Are you in Texas? It went by. So are you in Texas, Jeff? Yes, I am. That was Vesta. Hi, Vesta. I'm still in outside of San Antonio, and I've got lots of things to see while I'm here. Jacob's Well, Hamilton Pool. Seth told me about the rock, Enchanted Rock, that's very close by. And those are actually all around in the same general area. And then there's Texas Stonehenge that I'm going to go see. And then I'm going to go up to Palo Duro Canyon. I'm going to do some interesting, I'm going to be exploring the canyon and everything up there. I mean, it's just been fantastic. It really, truly has. So, yeah. So, yes, Kat, yes, very much so. Very beautiful work. This thing is very well done and very well made. I'm just, yeah, what an awesome gift. That's just so cool. So, but yeah, so let's see. Spring, Sasquatch favorite time of year. Yeah. Yes, I guess it could be, I suppose. Yeah. Enchanted Rock. Yeah, that's it. Southbound. Thank you. Let's see. AO is here. Hi, AO and Jan and Vesta. Tom Burns is over there, rapidly accelerating downhill. What is this here? FYI, rapidly.
It may not be natural, but it's a whole lot of fun.
Oh, he's talking about you.
Ian. I'm past the black diamond stuff. I don't do the stupid stuff. I just do the nice, easy, so it's all good. My kids can do the black diamonds.
Yeah, I never did do the black diamond. I stayed in the intermediate areas and had lots of fun with that.
Yeah,
very much so. So thank you guys for all showing up here tonight. I really appreciate it. We are going to continue talking about Expedition Bigfoot Season 3, episodes number 8, 9, and 10 tonight. 8 was the Sounds of Terror. 9 is the Tracks to Hell. And 10, did I write the name down on 10? Divide and Conquer. So those 3 episodes. And again, I said this, something that Seth and I were talking about at lunch today, was the fact that these people, I watched, and I don't want to take anything away from Finding Bigfoot show that was out prior to Expedition Bigfoot. But the one thing I will say, and this is just my opinion, that we have a much more scientific team now with tools, scientific, and they're using scientific approaches to this. And I like that part of it. Not to say that they didn't do a good job, because Cliff and Bobo and those guys did a great job. They interviewed people, they did all that. But now we have a team of, like, we have a primatologist, we have a survivalist, and we have a Bigfoot researcher together working to solve, and plus Bryce, who put it all together.
The tech guy.
The tech guy. I mean, you've got an awesome team of people working this, and that's what I think makes this one different. And in a different, completely different way. So I really like that, and that's
and I think the dynamics between those 4 really started to gel really well in season 3. Season 1 and 2, I think they're just kind of learning each other, feeling each other out. But they really started to rely on each other quite a bit more in season 3, and I can't wait to see season 4.
I know season 4 is, I cannot wait to. I mean,
Alaska.
In Alaska. We still don't know. And as you know, when I had Russell Acord on the show, and if you guys haven't seen that episode, I had Russell Acord on, and that was just a few weeks ago. I'm looking at it. It is up on YouTube right now. You can go and watch it anytime. But Russell Acord was awesome, and he said he would let me know, or us know, as soon as they get word. When I think he might find out just like maybe hours or whatever before it's announced, but he said he would let us know right away when it is, when they're told when it's going to start. And I really hope that they haven't changed things, and that I'm getting a little worried, because we should have received some kind of notification by now. They usually start talking about it a month beforehand. Hey, Court Lindahl's here. Hey, Court, how you doing? And Alan's here. Best of.
I saw Alan was in here. Yeah, Alan, I wish I had a thermal to put on my back, so I could look behind me, because that's what, always stuff gets thrown at you from behind.
Oh yeah. And
idea.
I got some tools here. I'm ready for my Bigfoot hunting. I do have a thermal. So I got a thermal camera.
Fantastic.
I'm ready for that.
Toys.
I also have This is my latest acquire. Night vision binoculars.
Ooh,
With the they
nice.
record. They got the chip inside. They record. So they don't have a super zoom on them. They're not high end. They're not super high end, but they're decent, and I like them. And I can't wait to take these two pieces into the field and really start getting some stuff. And of course, I'll be sharing this with you guys as I do. I'm going to be using these for paranormal work as well as
Sure.
Bigfoot investigations when I get out in the field at night. So that's just, and you see that case, that case back there, that's got all kinds of equipment in it. That's my hard case that I have cameras and all kinds of stuff. Come up to Northern California and we'll go Sasquatch on a Sasquatch hunt. Mount Shasta. Court, I will take you up on that. Mount Shasta is a very, very interesting place.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So I will take you up on that, Court. I will. I've been by Mount Shasta many times. I've never got a chance to go over there and really scope it out, but I will take you up on that. Alan says he has a video that we should see. Really? Alan, please do tell.
Bring it. Yep.
What's it about? High tech Jeff. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm trying. This isn't super high end equipment that I've got here, but hey, you know what? With the budget I have, you gotta stay within budget, right? Yes, we will do a UFO watch. And that's something that before we get too deep here tonight, I'll just take a couple more minutes just to say that Mike and I were talking about a couple of books that we just went through that I finished and he finished. And this kind of dovetails a little bit into tonight's what we're going to be talking about tonight at the end, because Bryce saw an orb, and you and I were talking about this orb thing.
Mm-hmm.
In its relation to, you take the Bigfoot people, most of the true Bigfoot researchers don't talk about orbs and what that in conjunction with Bigfoot. And same thing when you got orbs and UFO people don't want to be talking about Bigfoot being intertwined with that.
Yep.
What's your thoughts on that? I'm on the, I don't know. I'm on the fence with Bigfoot regardless, but what do you think?
So, just like we've talked about before, you have to keep an open mind. And the more you learn about all of this, I was watching an interview with Les Stroud, and he's said what I've kind of been feeling is that you can't be in a camp anymore. You can't be in the Bigfoot flesh and blood camp anymore, because there are lights that are often seen with them. You can't be in the, UAPs are only nuts and bolts machines camp, because everything is connected somehow. There's just so much crossover that I think anytime you hear the orbs and or UAPs, like you said, to someone that is most interested in UAPs, they may not worry about the scream that's also heard in the distance that's associated with Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. And the Bigfoot researcher will say, well, this is all Bigfoot and the orbs and lights are associated with Bigfoot. But it's all connected somehow. It's all connected somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. And as we saw on the show tonight, or episode number 10, actually, Bryce he sees an orb.
Sees an orange.
And so an orange one, and that kind of goes right into the book that I just finished reading. And when I first saw, this is the Chris Bledsoe story, and I know we're not here to talk about abductees and stuff like that, but I finished reading that book, and it was definitely interesting, no doubt. When I first saw the title, UFOs of God, I thought, okay, wait a minute. I'm a Christian here. What are you trying to say? But I thought, you know what? I got an open mind. I'm going to read it anyway. And I did. And I read the book. And I came away with first of all, I believe Chris Bledsoe. I believe his stories of what he has seen and what he has felt and been through. Um, I would like to talk with him. I know he's a busy, busy man right now. After this book has come out, he's probably got cajillion. If is that a word? No, not really. He's got a lot of podcast already lined up, but I would love to speak with
Yeah.
him.
I mean,
So
and just case in point that when his experiences start, the way that started, um, checks one of the boxes from my Bigfoot database of things that are often reported. It starts with him hearing something in the woods near him, walking when he was walking, stopping when he stopped, and he said he could hear that it was bipedal.
mhm,
Later on, he sees two red eyes. Okay, well, being paced out by Bigfoot is a very common report,
mhm.
and red eyes are a very common report.
Yep,
Now, again, I'm not saying that what that was Bigfoot necessarily, but there's crossover. There's crossover of those reports, and so you have to keep an open mind because you don't know which way something is going to go. And I do know that the BFRO, the Bigfoot Research Organization, they they are a Bigfoot only camp. If
mhm,
you have an experience and there's an orb and you report it, that will get removed when it goes into the Bigfoot BFRO database,
mhm.
because they don't want to muddy the waters. They just want to keep it pure Bigfoot. But
Yep,
that's data from that experience that you need to be able to understand what actually happened
exactly.
and what was going on.
Right.
And then you hear experience after experience after experience. You start, seeing these commonalities,
Mm.
and lights and orbs with Bigfoot are common. I know they're common with other stuff too, with other paranormal things. So you just got to keep an open mind and be open to whatever direction it starts to go.
Absolutely.
Um, but it was a fascinating book.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. You have to take all the. I mean, you look at the people on Skinwalker Ranch. You talk about Eric Bard, for instance, and even Travis Taylor. You have to collect. I know they don't do the Bigfoot thing that much, but you have to go with the data that you collect during an investigation. So all the data, whether it happens to be part of what you're expecting or not, you have to include all the data in that to get a full set of what it's all about. So
Right.
it's an important thing, like you just mentioned. Here's an interesting thought from AO. He said, the book of Enoch, banned by the Bible, describes how giants once roamed the earth. Could it be that these giants referred to in the book of Enoch are, in fact, some sort of a Bigfoot? Is it possible? Yeah, I guess so. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. That is often referenced when folks are telling stories about their experiences. Um, if they want to make that connection, or they have that background, that gets brought up from time to time.
hmm let's see here. So I'm just looking at some of the chat messages here. We last night we had such a blast. We didn't have really a Curse of Oak Island much to talk about, so we talked
Yeah.
about the drilling down a little, and then we just let it rip with talking with questions. We put questions out to the chat. We had a great time, man. The interaction from the chat was just fantastic. Yeah, it truly was. You need to get a full experience from witnesses. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
You got to
Uh,
listen to everything.
Vesta talking about I live near the Hiawatha Forest in Michigan. Yep, and I have seen a Bigfoot, but I call them whenever I have a chance. I went to the Simi Preserve during daylight and called, but no response. That's something we're going to talk about here a little bit tonight too, is because of about the calls, because we got some sounds and uh, Mike has done some analysis on these sounds, and we see the spectrogram. Look, and we'll get those here in just a minute. But and also, you still have the spectrogram of the sounds that I got when I was in Florida, and I had.
Yep.
I
Yep.
Can you send that to me when you get a minute? I meant to
Yep.
ask you that earlier
You bet.
before the show started, but I've got some people I mentioned that to, and they would like to see it
Sure.
on the spectrogram. So yeah, okay. All right. So Expedition Bigfoot, season 3, episode number 8. And this particular one starts off. Now remember that the team left the Olympic Peninsula and they headed over to Northern California. And the
Yep.
reason they did that was because they were not getting any more activity. After all the activity with the tethered drones and everything that went on that night, they went for like 3 or 4 days and nights without any activity at all. Nothing. It was absolutely just dead.
They got pretty frustrated.
Yeah. And that's when Bryce came along. It was like they moved out of the area. They thought, okay, this is too much heat going on here right now. Let's go somewhere else. And they got nothing. So they decided to pack up and go to Northern California. And that's where they came across when they were out doing their exploration the first day. They got their camp set up and they were walking around and they came across this thing right here. I mean, this structure right here. I mean, I was trying to figure out back in the day when this thing was built, what it would have been for.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it was huge, a house up on very, very tall stilts of some sort. It was obviously, I don't know. It was just
Pretty permanent.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't expect loggers to put up something like that. That they move around too much. So I don't know.
Yeah, this was an interesting thing. And like Dr. Maria Mayer was saying that it's very likely that it's an abandoned building now, of course.
Sure.
And why would something not want to use it for some sort of a place,
shelter,
a shelter of some sort? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Could it be a huge blind? I don't know. Why would a hunter's blind be that high up off the ground? But maybe you might be right.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I thought it was just interesting. It's big. It's really big. Let's see. Of course, I had a shot there of their command center. They always have such a great command center, set up.
Yeah, no kidding.
And
Bryce lives the life.
Yeah, he gets to hang out, and hang out in there most of the time. Oh, I go out in the field, meet this guy, meet that guy or woman or whatever, and then go back to my cushy place while they're sleeping in tents, and not taking showers and whatnot. There's the team out there taking, getting ready to head out for the night. One of the things that Russell came across, this particular piece that was stuck into the ground. Now, the one thing that I always have to try to remember when I'm watching something like this is that they're in an area where, yes, there could be people going around. There are some trails, but they're off the beaten path quite a ways. So he found this particular thing here, and it was shoved into the ground. It's a tree. It's a knot from this log or tree behind it that somebody picked up and shoved it into the ground, stuck it in the ground. And he said it was stuck in there pretty well. That's not going to be done by an animal. It didn't fall that way. It was actually picked up and shoved into the ground by something. Was it a person? Don't know. It could have been a person, but who knows? Something with hands shoved this thing into the ground, which was really cool. And it reminded him of that cross that he had seen. And I forgot where this was. I forgot where that cross was. Was that in not the peninsula, but I think that was in other Kentucky, was that, or the other place that they had gone?
I don't remember. They just flashed that on quick. It was just another one of those odd things in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, in the middle of nowhere, exactly. So there's a little bit better picture of it, and it's just shoved in the ground. So, just one of those oddities that you find that he found in the woods as he was going along.
And again, something that Russ finds like that. Again, a guy that's a survivalist, been in the woods for 40 years.
Yep.
When he sees something and takes interest in it, just like these nests, that to me gives a lot of credence to whatever it is, because he knows that it's not normal.
Exactly.
And then he sees these nests up in I think it's a tree that's kind of grown out of a hillside. So it is elevated where he is. If he were to roll off or jump off that, it would be, I think, a bit of a drop. But you can walk back down that log or the trunk towards the ground. But this looked pretty interesting. I mean, he reacted right away to it. He's like, man, this looks just like a bed.
It was
and
like
got
sunken
pretty excited.
down in the middle. He said you could
fit
roll
in it perfect,
side to side, and you couldn't fall out of it. He was very impressed by the making of this thing. He was, the way he described how it was woven together in some sort. So yeah, he was pretty impressed with this, and that makes me feel pretty, like you just said.
Right.
You know that Russ knows what he's looking at. Now, this is a look down at it. He's standing up now, taking a shot down on the thing, and you can see how thick this all is. Could it simply be branches that fell off the tree and all landed right there? I suppose, but
Yeah.
I don't think so. And then there was other spots like this one here,
Nearby.
these other
Yep.
nesting areas, where things look like there was like matter of fact, he said there was like 6 or 7 different areas that looked like something had been laying down in there. So
yeah, and they were all in close proximity to each other too, and I think within line of sight.
Yep. Yeah, all in. And then he went in, he saw this little opening right here, this little dark opening area. He decided to head on over there, and then he found this little structure right here. And it was the way it was put together with these sticks were actually shoved in there. This was something, and again, we go with Russell's opinion on this, being right there and seeing it. He said this thing was created by something. It did not fall. It was not natural. It was created by something, and something. You can see these ones here that they were broken off and then shoved in there in a certain pattern like that. But he said something with opposable thumbs made this. That's what he was showing right there with his hand. He was showing the opposable thumbs. Something created this little whatever it is. Is it a symbol? Is it a marker of some sort? Is it a sign or some sort of a symbol for others to see it and go, oh, okay, that they would know what that means by that?
I think when Ronnie eventually got there, he said it could have been, a juvenile just building the same types of structures that it sees the adults build.
Right.
Almost like a kid house.
Yeah, could very well be. Before we get to that, and then Russell does get on the radio and calls Ronnie and Maria to come and check this thing out. We'll get to that in here in just a minute. But I also wanted to cover back to some of the sounds. We kind of ended up last week talking about the sounds that were there's the Ohio Bigfoot, if that's that's what they name it, the Ohio Bigfoot sound.
The Ohio howl.
That Ohio howl, thank you, that was played. And then you have also the sound of, they played it that night, and then they got a response back. And Russell also, that's why this particular episode was called Sounds of Terror, because Russell also heard some sounds that first evening. And he was like, oh my gosh, he goes, I have never heard anything. And even Maria said the response that they got, she goes, I have never heard anything like that in the wild. And she's been out in the wild a lot. We do have these, and I wanted to play them. This is, let's see. I'll put this one up first. Hold on just a second. Okay, I'm going to back that up a little bit. Hopefully that's not too
showed on
loud.
screen.
Yeah, I'm going to show it on screen here.
Okay.
I want to stop it first and back it up. And then I just want to be conscious of everybody. I turned it up a little bit so you guys could hear it better. And then I'm going to show this screen right here. And this is the spectrogram view of this. And this is this first portion right here you see up to this line is the Ohio howl. And then this over here portion is what they got for a response. We'll listen to the response again because Mike went and manipulated it, worked on it a little bit, enhanced it a little bit. So we'll get that as well. But, Sethbound just made a good point. That could be, that little nesting area could be a nursery.
Yep. Yep.
Baby Bigfoot Lincoln Logs. That was Eva said that. Wow. Yeah, you guys got some good things going on there, for sure. So, all right, so let's play this real quick, and then we'll get back to that nest here in just a minute. And then I want to go through some of the stuff that you guys have been saying that I missed here. All right, so let's play this sound here. First, like I said, is the Ohio howl, and then the response that they get. And the Ohio howl kind of changes. You see this line here; it kind of deadens down. It's because of the TV show. We had to get these from the TV show, unfortunately. And of course, they have their theatrical sound in there sometimes too. That kind of, I wish they wouldn't do that, but all right, here we go. Okay. That was the response. And I'm gonna play that response again. That Mike kind of enhanced it. So 2 totally different sounds. I mean,
definitely.
they did the Ohio howl, and then they got that response, and that response is just flat out creepy. Let me bring that up here. I'm gonna have to hit pause real fast on this. Okay. Here's the enhanced sound of the response that they got. And tell me if this doesn't send a chill up your spine. Oops, let me bring up the picture so you can see it again. There we go. I want to play that again.
It's interesting because that's the sound that most people describe as, you know, a woman screaming like she's being murdered.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of almost a whistle sound, and you can actually see that in up around 1,000 hertz.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a line that you can see, and that's that higher pitch as that, I don't know what you call it, that shriek. Yeah, you can see there's kind of a line near is that 1,000 or 2,000 hertz?
Yeah, right up here.
Yeah, that top part, you can see that there's a little bit of a line there. That's probably the whistle sound that you hear. I suppose I could isolate that too and cut out the lower part. But that's very in line with the description that a lot of people give when they hear sounds like that. And again, keep in mind Murray has been out in the woods quite a bit, maybe more so in some different environments, but Russell has certainly been out there for a long time.
Yep.
And I didn't have time. I know some folks are mentioning some other animals that are in the wild. Yes, mountain lions can make horrific noise. Bobcats are awful.
Oh yeah,
sounding
I've
sounds.
heard that.
All kinds of different sounds. They look nothing like this. And if I have time, I'll try and get a comparison that you can see it. Because even though it may sound a little bit similar, once you see the sound and the frequencies that are being hit, it's nowhere near the same. So I don't know what it is. It's just and the one thing that they often mention too is the power that's coming from that. That you'll feel it in your chest. You know, we've talked about the infrasound and the bellowing and being the folks being impacted by that, but just even the normal audible sounds, the volume that can be created can only be done with a massive chest capacity.
Right. Yes, exactly.
You and I can't make the volume that a Sasquatch can because we don't have the chest capacity.
Right.
And that these descriptions of people that they give when they are talking about these sounds, these aren't necessarily, some folks aren't necessarily thinking about the anatomy that is required to make a sound that loud, yet they're very consistently saying they were stunned by the amount of power coming from that sound.
Yes.
Given the distance away it was.
Yes.
It felt like they got hit in the chest with a baseball bat.
Right.
It was so powerful. Ultrasonic robot. I don't think so. Most of what they've seen, ultrasonic would be higher frequency, and you can see I've cropped this down to below 3,000 hertz because there isn't anything higher So there's not anything in the ultrasound, but there is in the low register.
Mhm.
So,
Yep, that's somebody mentioned about mating, and you think about that at first. I see that and you want to chuckle a little bit, but no, you might, could this have been? And again, as you folks know, I am a Bigfoot skeptic. I have not seen anything that I would ever say, oh, I think that might have been a Bigfoot. I've not seen anything. I'm collecting data and I'm talking to people and I'm going on, investigations to see what I can find out for my own evidence. So is it possible that a male would make a more, type sound, and a female would make that higher pitch sound? Is it possible? Why not? It's plausible. That might have been the response of a female to a male. I don't know, but
yeah.
We just don't know because we don't have enough. We don't have any to actually, get that, find out that data from. But it's still, and there are animals like a fox. A fox can make an awful sound.
Yes.
Awful sound that would scare the pants off you. My son heard it. We were all at the cabin in Michigan, and he was in a tent outside, and it woke everyone up in the house. It was so loud, and he was like, "You guys left me out here with the banshee." I mean, he thought,
yeah. My kids did the same thing first time they heard that.
Loud, and it ended up
the
being
territorial call of a fox.
Oh my gosh,
it's horrible.
It hair raising. Yeah. So you should hear snowshoe hares. Really?
Yeah. I've heard of those too.
Wow.
I've not heard it, but I know people have mentioned that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that fox, the sound of a fox during the mating like that is just, oh my gosh, it was incredible sound, and it'll scare the pants right off you. It did us. It woke everyone up around the whole. Yeah, it was incredible. All right, so we've got one more. This was the one that Maria and them got back, and they were just like flabbergasted at this sound. And then there's one more. Let's see. There's one more we have, which is the sound that Russell heard. And there it is right there. And this was what Russell had initially said was like a hyena sound. When we hear this, and I'll play it a couple of times, it's clearly not. But of course, he was outside. He heard that chittery, chit, 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 chit. And they thought, well, let me put it up against like a primate sound, and it's not that either. So let me play this one. And this is a comparison of primate.
So that's hyena.
That's primate. Right. So that first part was the primate sound?
Hyena.
Oh, hyena. Sorry. Yes.
That's a laughing hyena. Yep.
A laughing hyena. So I'm going to play that again. Laughing hyena, and then the sound that Russell heard. Yeah. And I'll show that now real quick on here too. I'll play it one more time. You can see it on this page. You can see the difference of these two. Then I'll stop it at the end so it keeps this up here. Okay. You see the difference in those two patterns? Completely different. Not even close.
Yep.
Not even close.
Yep. That's the advantage of the spectrogram, because it shows you the frequencies that are being hit, and it doesn't look anything like it. There's some harmonics that go up, higher, like in the hyena, but the structure is nowhere near the same.
No, not at all. Not at all. So, again, you go back to hearing that kind of stuff, and this was after the responses they're getting from the sounds they're playing. Other animals are hearing the sound that they're playing and responding to it in some way. And like Dr. Maria Mayer said, when she was out there, she said when they were getting ready to play these, she said, when we play a sound like this that we've recorded somewhere, that we don't know what the animal was that made the sound in the first place, and then you're playing it back, you don't know what kind of response you're going to get. You might get an aggressive bear,
response. Yeah.
from some other animal that is territorial or something, you're playing with fire almost to a degree, because you just don't know. I'll leave it at that. You just don't know what you're going to run into. So those were pretty interesting sounds that they had recorded and played back out there. But again, they're doing what Travis Taylor says at Skinwalker Ranch. They're kicking the hornet's nest and see what happens.
Yeah, right.
And you might get a response that you weren't ready for. So anyway, so some pretty interesting things that happened there with those sounds. Let's see. They go back out the next night after they recorded those. Or this was the next day they were looking. They had, let's see, let me get my pictures going again here. They brought out Bryce and Dr. Mayer out to take a look at this, and I'm going to bring the pictures back up. Of course, this was Russ here showing his opposable thumbs, whatever built this little structure. And he also, somebody had mentioned about a hare, finding a hare in the nest, and he did. He did find a hare, and he captured it. It was on the side of the tree trunk up where that one big nest was. He found a hare, and he did capture it, put it away, and to go get it analyzed. Now, we don't know yet, as of episode 10, what the results of that were, but he did get a hare out of there. So to find out what kind of an animal it could have been. And as you guys know, we've talked about this before. The Medela, is that what that?
Yep, Medela.
It's that line inside there, the root, I guess, that extends up into the hair, like it's a center line in there. That would be the that they say that the Bigfoot hares don't have one of those.
Correct.
Okay, so Maria and Ronnie come out, and they go into, and then look at this opening right here. This is just crazy. This is where Russell saw this opening, and he decided, I'm going to go walk back here and see that's where he found the nesting. It's like going into your camp area or something. And then this is where he was showing them, just walk on in there a little bit, and see what you find. When they did that, immediately they go back in there, and Maria looks at that nesting, and she's like, she wasn't convinced at all about it. She wasn't impressed at all. She was all, well, it could be natural, and just whatever animals could have laid down here and pressed down on the grass and whatnot, and all that. No, not Modelo, not the beer from Mexico, Craig. You guys are hilarious. But she kind of poo-pooed the whole thing, and you see Russell. The look on his face was kind of like, well, yeah, okay, yeah, I still think it's pretty interesting nesting, but okay, fine, But that's why you have a team like you do.
Yeah, and I think Maria was not as impressed because it didn't match what she knows silverback gorillas make.
Right.
It was up in a tree. It was up high, so she was like, no, that's not right. Well, it's not right for what, known animals. How do you know that it wasn't done by an animal we don't know everything about yet?
Right.
So
exactly. So you have to at least consider that. Let's see. I was just reading some of the chat here. It's last week a UFO hunter in a tree blind said he witnessed two Bigfoot fighting each other to the death. And then Jan said, okay, then what happened to the body of the one that died? Okay. If they were fighting to the death. So anyway, when Russell took it, he goes, okay, well, let's check this out. And then he took him over to that little structure that was made, that little miniature structure that was made. And now she was like, oh, okay. Awfully small. Yes. And that's when Ronnie, like you had mentioned, Ronnie said, well, it could have been,
small ones
learning how to make
a nursery.
Yeah. A nursery. Exactly. It was a nursery. So anyway, good points there. So the next night they go out and they're playing the sounds that they had captured from the night before. They had captured some sounds And so they go out the next night to play those sounds. And of course, this is Russ. He's up on a hill, and Maria and Ronnie are down below. Russ is getting ready to play the sounds, and Ronnie's got the parabolic mic, and Maria's got a thermal and all that ready to go to see what they capture. They play the sounds that they had recorded the night before that Bryce had, manipulated and enhanced a little bit. And right off the bat, Russell, or not long, well, we don't know. That's a problem with the production TV. We don't know how long it took for Russ to actually see something on his thermal. That right there is Ronnie standing in his spot with the parabolic microphone. Russell sees something up above him, basically straight up above him. And Russell initially thought it was in a tree.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out the next day they found that there's actually that goes uphill behind him, and it was up the hill, not in a tree. But Russell kind of thought that, and we go back to that whole thing about, can these things see can they see the night vision, the infrared lights? Can they see infrared?
Yeah.
Do they know they're being observed with a thermal imaging camera of some sort? We don't know. We don't even know if they actually exist. But is it possible that they could see this? Yeah, why not? Why not be possible? There are animals who can see things that we cannot. Their nighttime vision is way better than ours. So, because he was talking about how it seemed like it was staying behind this tree from Russell, so that Russell couldn't get a good look at it. Again, that was his perception from where he was watching this thing. But it was right above. And then Maria goes running off. She heard something. She goes running off through the woods, barreling in there. She said, I'm not going to let this thing get away this time. So she goes running, and they're like, stop, hold up. And she's barreling through there down a trail. And then you heard the bear. I heard it, before, as she was coming up and hadn't seen this picture yet. You can hear the bear make a bear sound. And I was like, oh, that's a bear.
Yeah.
And she hadn't seen it yet. And then she saw this, and she's like, oh, okay, it's a bear. Turn around. Let's walk away quietly. Everybody head back. So, yeah, they came across a bear. So, is it not everything out there that makes a crunch in the woods is a potential Bigfoot?
Right.
There are bears and other wildlife living out there as well. And that's a good point to show everyone. So the next day, they decide they're going back, and they go down and they're looking for other evidence of the placement they saw from the night before. And in the nighttime rolls around, and Russell comes across this right here. This old train tunnel going through the mountain. And I was laughing a little bit during this because Russell was saying something about, that was Zach, his cameraman. He's like, and the sound of Zach's voice is like, this is creepy, Russ. He was like, I don't know. Do we want to go in there? Do you really want to go in there? And I'm thinking the whole time, and Russell's like, oh, I don't know. Look at the timbers and everything. They're all looking kind of weak, and some of them are falling and rotting out and everything. Let me see a show of hands from those in the chat watching right now. Who would go in here? Even at night like that, who would go in here? Now, granted, you were with someone, and Russ is with somebody. He's with Zach, his cameraman. I'm gonna say, if you're with someone, not alone, but if you're with someone, would you go into this train tunnel? Look at that thing. Would you go in there? Yeah. Jen says, Renee and Jen says yes. William says me. Somebody, Facebook. Oh, you know what? I didn't say your name, Facebook user. I don't have you up on, I forgot to bring that up on Facebook over there so we know who you are, but said nope. Hand pink waving. Wouldn't be able to help myself. Yep. In the daytime, maybe. Yeah. Eva says nope. Penny. Okay. Thank you, Penny. Penny says nope, not going in. I'd go in with Jan. Hey, Deborah. Hey, how you doing? I know Deborah. Yepper, she'd go in for sure. Yep. Not necessary, Jeff. Bigfoot could have heightened senses that allow them to hear, yes, hear electronic devices, similar to how some people who suffer from tinnitus, but yet hear tinnitus. I do. I got tinnitus. I hear the ringing in my ears right now. It's always there, no matter what. Sometimes it fades away, but a little bit, but it's always present. But I still have pretty good hearing besides. So let's see here. Oops, I tried to bring this one up. It jumped on me. Robot said it has been stated that that Bigfoot is telepathic. Some have stated that they were about to take a picture or raised their rifle or scope. They heard in the back of their mind, don't even think of it.
Yep. Yeah, that's the mind speak, telepathy, whatever you want to call it. Les Stroud talked about it.
Yeah, he did. Yes,
so I'm going to give some pretty good credibility to that guy and anything he says. And he experienced it. And yeah, I've heard that before. Same kind of report. Somebody goes to grab their gun and they hear in their head, don't do it. So
yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Let's see. You first. I would go in. I would. I'm sorry. I would definitely venture in here. Yeah. B Morris says, yep. Yeah, you can have a stick to take. Absolutely. I would be armed. I probably wouldn't have it out, but I would be armed. Yes, there's no doubt about that. Robert says he would go. Cat got to have a big stick. Les Stroud experienced that. Yes. Yes, he did.
So, yeah, he's talked about that in a couple different places. The place, and this is what started me down this path, was episode 500 of Sasquatch Chronicles with Wes Germer. You got to kind of fast forward through some of the production talk of Survivor Man and things like that. But he talked about it in that episode, and he experienced a lot related to Bigfoot. And he even talks about how when he was filming Survivor Man Bigfoot, he didn't put everything in the show that happened to him because he was afraid it wouldn't get aired.
Right.
That as he calls them in that episode, that podcast, the gatekeepers at the network would kill it, and they wouldn't let it through.
Yep.
And he wanted to, protect what he had. And it was a great show. He did a fantastic job. That gatekeeper changed, and the season 2 got killed. So even though ratings were good, made no sense.
Even though they were, and they're still good, even out on YouTube and stuff. You watch them now, they're great. I mean, they're getting a lot of views.
Yep.
David said, if you lead the way, he'll go. Yep. All right. I'll lead the way. I'll go in.
I'd go in, but I'd want a really, really bright spotlight to make sure that structure looks sound enough to walk under.
That's true too. Yeah. You got to take that into consideration. And that's the only thing Russ was really, I think, that he was talking about anyway. I don't know if that's all he was thinking about. That's all he was talking about, was the fact that he thought it looked a little unsafe, like it could collapse at any point. But he went in there anyway. And during the show, I kept saying, "Oh, come on, Russ, don't be a sissy, get in there," But we're going
normally Russ will charge into just about any situation. I mean, he got bluff charged by something, and he bluff charged back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he went after it. Yeah. So I can't imagine him hesitating to do much of anything.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I know there are so many of us going in. We'd scare Bigfoot away. Yeah. You're probably right. So anyway, that's what I was thinking. I'm thinking I would go in there. But now the thing about it that I would think of, this is the point that I would come to right here, is that you don't know what in it. You can see it bends, it turns a little bit down there. You can't see the far end. You don't know if it's blocked off, if something's living in there. That's the problem with going into any of these caves or some kind of tunnel or thing like this in the first place, you don't know what may be living in it. There might be a bear in there. A bear might be living in this thing. You just don't know. And that's what I don't want to confront going into it, is an animal that might eat me or kill me. Somebody in our Discord channel keeps talking about, oh, Bigfoot they eat people. Don't go there because they eat people.
No one's ever seen one eating a person. That's all I'll
right.
say.
See, that's what I'm saying.
I know that there are reports like that. In fact, there's Native Americans that say that.
Yep.
But I don't know that I've ever heard a report of them actually seeing them eat someone. That they may, they could be right. I don't know, but who knows? Who knows? Stuff we got to figure out.
Tom said we have to assume that Bigfoot speaks English, or can mind speak to convert our minds. How does it work? I don't know.
Right. That's a great question.
I think
does
it's
that make
more
any
of
sense?
an impression that they put onto you rather than actual words. That would be my guess. Was be an impression, or make you think, whatever. I don't know. Than words. I don't know. That's even assuming that they even exist.
I don't know that we have the answer to that, obviously.
We don't have the answer to that. Yep.
One more thing we got to put on the list of things to solve.
How many people disappear without a trace? Isn't there a case up in, I've heard people mention this before about Alaska, and Alaska has all these missing people. And are they being eaten by
missing
Bigfoot?
411, David Blightus stuff. But that doesn't mean Bigfoot's eaten all those people, certainly. That could be all kinds of different things.
By emotion, that's what I'm talking about. They're feeding you with an emotion, a feeling, that's something like that, rather than actual words, would be my guess. ESP, yep, Robert, yep. Who knows what she's referring? Okay, I don't know. Okay, so Russ ends up going down there, as we all know, watching the show. And then Zach goes with him, of course. And there was a lot of the timbers that were like, somebody had been going in there and taking some of the timbers out or something. But and then he finds this tunnel, which I'm thinking this is nothing more than a drain tunnel for when a lot of water would get inside here, and it would allow it to drain out. It was a little bit lower and it slopes downhill. Russell ends up going in there and making his way through, and comes to the end and finds that it drops off the edge of a cliff. Fortunately, he didn't keep on going and fall to his death, which is good. And he sees this light. Now, this is a crappy, there goes my mouse again, but this is a very crappy snapshot. I took a screen capture and didn't realize until today that it was not clear. The camera was not me, but the camera, when it was taken, it actually jiggled and got this, looks like a line. It's not a line. It was actually a pinpoint of light that Russ saw when he got to the opening. And he's like, I wonder what that light is. Well, they're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I don't remember him saying anything about clouds being seen. I mean, stars being seen. So, but he saw this one light. And when he went back the next day and went out there, there was nothing. There's a hill over there on the other side. There's a ravine right in front of him, or a drop off.
A creek, a creek between here, just down to the bottom of that. Right.
So he sees a light, and there's no houses, and there's nothing over there that would produce a light. So that was kind of cool in itself. This is a look at the same thing in the daytime. And I thought, wow, it looks ominous in the daytime. That's they're following the train tracks. Starlink, yeah, maybe. They're following the train tracks, and here they are now. That's in the daytime. I think it looks just as bad in the daytime.
It's a dark tunnel, daytime and nighttime. Tunnel. It doesn't do it. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's why I said you need a really bright spotlight.
Yes.
And I want to see a long ways down it.
Yeah.
And I want to know that it's structurally sound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't look any more inviting in the daytime.
No.
It doesn't end with a drop, Cat. That was an offshoot tunnel. This little right here,
that drainage tunnel.
This was a 90. This was a little drain that went off on a 90-degree from the train tracks. It was a little side outlet. Yeah, Little said that. It was a little it made a 90 away from the tracks and went out, and it was just a drain. In my opinion, that's what it was, to drain water that might build up inside so it doesn't flood in the case of that. But yeah, that's all it was. So they never did go down to all the way down to the end of it. So that we saw on TV anyway. But anyway, so they end up going back in there. He walks down, he goes back in that tunnel, the drain tunnel, and he comes out, and then you can see that there's nothing. There's a ravine, a creek, and then another hill right on the other side, which is where the light was. So if that light over there wasn't Ronnie or Maria or Bryce, then what was that light all about? And he didn't say anything about it moving or anything like that. So yeah, it looks worse in the daytime, as I thought too. Yeah. I would almost rather go in night because you got your light on already and everything. So yeah, I'd run back if the light was coming down the train tunnel. Yeah, down at the end. Yeah, it might be a train coming or a ghost of a train. That'd be neat.
Yikes.
Yeah. This was cool. I thought this was a cool part right here. They were talking about on the show, they were talking about the idea that how many people have seen something driving down a road, crossing the road in front of them. Bryce did. He saw something run across the road in front of him, like a shadowy type figure run across the road.
He did. Yep.
So they decided to experiment with this a little bit. So they went and got him these electric bikes, which are a really cool thing. I see a lot of people around the campgrounds have these things. It's a little electric bike. It's pedal assist or whatever, pedal, and got the electric motor on it. They can ride these around very quietly on the roads and thereby get a chance to cover more ground and maybe see something crossing the road. So great idea.
It was a fantastic idea.
And I think they should keep doing something like this. But I thought, it's an excellent idea. So that's what they were doing. They were cruising around on these to cover more ground and see if they could capture something. And then to wrap up, this is what I was talking about before about
Bryce
seeing a light. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we still got some more after this too. But yeah, so. There was a couple pictures they saw and again, I'm assuming he saw it through the trees. So it wasn't above the tree line. He saw it through the trees because you can see the tree branches. Now it could have been high enough to where it was, above the trees beyond where he was. So he had to look through the trees to see it. That's a very good possibility, but he didn't say anything about there being stars out or seeing other lights or anything like that. Here's this. Yeah, Craig, what I'm going to call an orb. It was some kind of an orb shining through it. And he saw it and he said it was orange. Now it doesn't look really orange there, but he said it was orange. There's another, I just happened to get two pictures. You can see how it's lighting up the area around these trees. You can see this like the light area here as well. I don't know how well that's coming through on the picture, but you see that right there.
Yep.
Now that right there. Now this is where I was saying the difference between a star, and some kind of orb type light. I don't think a star. If a star is that bright, then it's got to be one of the planets or something. And also, if look at the lighting that I'm showing down here in this area. It's lighting up more than just where the light source itself is. And that tells me that it's closer to the trees than you might think. If it was a star, I don't think a star is going to light up the trees in the bottom area down here like it is. What do you think? Am I?
Yeah, no, I would agree. The hard part is the way that this is filmed. It's difficult to tell what angle that is.
Right.
I mean, if you were out there and looking at it, you could tell by line of sight that it was probably below the horizon. That's the way that they portrayed it anyway. But
Right.
with just a shot like this, yeah, you can kind of see some limbs from trees there. But again, you don't know if you're standing looking 30 degrees up, could be the moon off in the distance. But the 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 word from Bryce was that was in the forest at, a low level below the tree line,
Right.
down closer to the ground. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
that's why I brought that up first. Yep.
yeah, those, it seems like, like I said, there's lots of crossover here, and there's orbs are seen in many different places, different ways. The way that they're typically reported when seen associated with Bigfoot is mostly low to the ground, below treetop level,
Mm-hmm.
or at head level,
Right.
in that range.
Right. And I personally am one who have seen them in the woods like this, down about head level. I mean, I don't know how many of you can say that, or have had that experience where you're in the woods somewhere at night and seen something like this when the area, there's no houses or anything like that. There's no road down there or anything like that. And
Yep.
you see something, a light like this in the woods, and you wonder, wait a second, there's nothing over there that would produce that light. So the only other option it could have been, other than maybe a UFO or something, would be a person that happens to be over there with a flashlight. But normally, if a person's walking with a flashlight, what happens?
Yeah, you'll see it.
It's moving
Move.
around as they're walking, or it's as they're shining, it's moving around. It's not a steady light that just hangs in one area for a long period of time. Right. Mars would not reflect off the ground. That's why I brought zoomed this in so you could see this part down here. If I saw that, I would want to walk towards it. I would want to start heading through the woods there to go see, get closer to it to see what it is. And then you end up as Mr. Walt.
Yeah, Native Americans will tell you, don't do that.
Yeah,
don't do that.
Don't walk towards it. Everybody in the truck was yelling at him, come back. And he went over there, and what do you know? Next thing you know, he's being found a couple of days later on the ground and not know that time had passed. Later on, they get another thermal hit. And this is a pretty good one here. This is a thermal hit. Now, this is on a thermal that you can actually get an app for your phone and then buy a device that you attach to the camera portion over your phone, and it will act as a thermal imaging camera. This particular one does it in black and white. It doesn't have the red and oranges and stuff like that colors to it. But they spotted this right here. Now, again, it's a blob. You can't see legs, maybe see a head on it. I don't know. Again, it's just a blob thermal hit. And there you see it as it's fading away. There's another shot of it before it faded away. And then Ronnie had made the comment that they heard something hit the ground close to them. After they saw that blob, it was while they were looking at that blob, and then they heard something, and Ronnie said it was like somebody threw something at them. He said, because he actually says that during the show. Did somebody just throw something at us? And he pans over with his thermal imaging camera, and he finds this stick laying on the ground. Now, what do you folks figure is good or interesting about that stick? Man, a lot of chat has gone by. I was in there for a second. Okay, so the stick is showing a thermal signature.
Right. So it's been heated by something.
Yeah.
If it had fallen and just finally gave up and broke and dropped from up in a tree, it wouldn't be hot. It would be the same temperature as everything else out there. Something put heat into that.
Right.
So a warm-blooded creature of some kind, and we don't know what, but something was holding that to put heat into it.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, that was a pretty significant thing to see, because you don't you hear things getting thrown all the time. You can always pawn that off on stuff dropping out of trees, or wind is stuff, something, anything except a creature throwing things at you. Well, this would give some at least evidence that something warmed that up. We don't know what it was, but it warmed it up and it threw it at it. Threw it at those guys, which is a common occurrence.
Yep. Squirrels throw things, but I don't think a squirrel is going to be able to throw a stick that large. Again, it might have been a twig. It looks like it's, to me in that picture, it looks like it's about 1.5 feet long. So a squirrel, I don't think can throw that, but they do throw things. That's true. But you see this blob. So, I mean, it's almost simultaneous. They see this blob. And like I said, I had a couple pictures of it. There's one. It does look like an eye on it. Somebody's mentioned that. It looked like it had an eye on it. But hard to say. But they saw the blob. They're watching and they're trying to walk towards it. It eventually fades away. That's a picture of it actually fading away. I went back and got another one of it there because it was moving to some degree, because you can see the difference between that picture and this picture. Of course, they were moving too. Then they heard something come through the branches and then hit the ground. And then boom, there's that stick that's been heated up by something holding it.
Yep.
Now a bear is not going to hold a stick and throw it at him. If it wasn't a human being, what was it?
Very curious.
Very curious indeed. So I don't know. It would be. Yes, you're exactly right. It would have to be something holding it for a while. Now, it's like right now, I've been sitting in this chair for a while. If I get up out of this chair and I grab my thermal camera and I take a look at it, you'll see my butt print and my back print in this chair from heating it up, and it will eventually fade away. Same thing with that stick. Or if I hold something in my hand and then I look at it with the thermal imaging camera and set it down, it's going to be heated up.
Yep.
So there you go. So yeah, pretty interesting right there. So something threw that at them and something heated it up. Like I said before, if it wasn't a human being that did it, what the heck was it? Also, and this is wrapping up here with the episode, is that Russell also had a thermal hit that he was looking at across quite a distance, and he footed it over there to go find it, and it kept staying, and he was looking at it with his camera, and he kept seeing the thermal image. He got closer and closer and closer to it, found out that it was, and you can't really see it in this picture. I'm sorry, it's not a very good photograph, but turns out it was a long rock that had been, too much information. I know. Sorry. It was the first thing that came to mind. Sorry. But it was like it was a rock, a portion of a rock that was bare to the grass around it. And it was heated up by the sun, obviously, of the day. And it was still holding heat. And that's what he was seeing. So not every thermal hit is going to be an animal of some sort. And that was a good point made with this right there. And that's why they aired it, I'm sure. Was to show you that sometimes it's just a rock that's holding heat still.
Yep.
So I was kind of curious about this rock. I mean, it looked like it was long. It looked like something had scraped the grass, because the grass you can see is above it. You can't really see the rock here at all with this bad picture. Again, I apologize. But it looked like something had actually scraped all the dirt off of the rock in this long area, which they didn't talk about at all. But when I watched it, that's what it seemed like to me, that it had been scraped off. But again, we don't know. And you see this dirt down here. That's what also made me think that it scraped the dirt off of that. But again, I don't know.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, whoops. Okay. So that's what I got for those. I thought they were great episodes. This season 3, I think, is really. You had told me that before I ever went and talked to Ronnie and Russ and Maria at Phenomicon that I went to. You had mentioned to me, to go and talk to them, and that episode or season 3 was the best one.
Yep.
Of the first 2, and I watched the first 2 and 3, and you're right, it was. Truly was, with the drones and the technology that they've thrown at this whole thing. Really good. I just, I don't know. The nests, the structures, even that little miniature structure, the thermal images could be a bear. Yes, it could be. They did see a bear in the woods.
Yep.
The tunnel was really cool, but it had no evidence of any kind of Bigfoot or animal at all in there. But it was still kind of neat. I don't know.
The
It was
nests
a,
were,
but
were pretty good. Nests were pretty good.
What?
The nests that Russ found.
Yeah, I think so too. And the sounds that they captured, I thought the sounds were,
Yeah, the sounds were fantastic.
and that they've played those up against other sounds of that have been captured about other animals, and yet they didn't say, oh yeah, well we listened to it, and it sounds like it's, it could be a fox or whatever. So season 3, it only gets better and better. And I wanted to ask you real quick too, just we'll wrap it up with this question for you. There was a guy that was talking about, and we kind of referenced this last week, about the government. Do you think the government, and it's just, I know I'm asking you for your opinion, but what do you think about the government? Does the government know? Have they done any kind of studies, in your opinion, of Bigfoot? Do they know of its existence? Do you think? What do you think on that?
So let's talk about first Forest Service, because I think
Yes.
that was one of the references in the show.
Yes, one of the guys was former Forest Service.
In one of the Bigfoot documentaries that was done, they mentioned that at one point they had gotten a picture of a map in the forestry office with Bigfoot sightings marked on it. And once the researcher got a hold of that and started to show that around a little bit, suddenly the map went away. And there's no record of the map ever existing. Well, the Forestry Service guys, obviously they're out there probably more than anybody.
Yep.
So they clearly have some idea. If nothing else, they're tracking the sightings, if not marking sightings of their own, so that they have some idea of where they're often seen. So from that standpoint, I think it's pretty clear that services like that, they're out in the woods, and in national parks, things like that. Those folks know. Yes, Flash of Beauty. That was the documentary I was talking about.
Yep.
Fantastic documentary too, by the way.
It is very good.
The government, to what extent? Yes, I mean, I've heard so many reports from folks in the military that have seen them on military bases, up to and including killing them. And when that unfortunately does happen, it gets treated like a crashed UFO. It gets locked down, and they bring in heavy equipment and helicopters and big trucks, and everybody's threatened with never speaking of it ever again, kind of thing. What do they do with that? Are they doing studies on it? Are they? I mean, I don't know. It may just be a nuisance to them, and it may be that it's causing trouble to people on the base. I don't know, but it seems to go dark really fast. Something like that happens.
Yep.
So I would suspect, the military was interested in polar bears, because polar bears don't show up in thermal because of their coat. It's too efficient. Or it's so efficient that they don't give off heat through their coat. Their nose, might give off a little bit. But so if we're talking about a creature that has the ability of cloaking, that seems like at least some military folks might be interested in that. So I don't know about studying. I know that there's been people that have talked about that, and underground bunkers and things like that. I don't know. I would need more evidence to learn more about that. But I can say, based on the people that I've heard report this, that were in the military at the time these things happened, they absolutely know about them. What exactly they do with the bodies, or do they just sweep it under the rug so that base operations go back to normal as fast as possible.
Mhm.
Because they got stuff they got to be doing, and dealing with a dead Sasquatch body seems like that might take up some time
Yeah.
that you weren't planning on. So I don't know. I don't know. I've not really heard of much else. I know the FBI has analyzed some hair samples that were sent to them, and there's FOIA that has pulled those records out, but there was nothing to it. They basically said that they looked at it, but nothing really came of it. They didn't determine it was anything, and of course the samples and all that stuff's gone
Right.
magically.
Magical.
So the government has to know to what extent and what they do about it and what they're doing
Yeah.
about it. There's a lot of theories that the logging industry, the government's protecting the logging industry. I
Mhm.
I don't know about that. It seems like there's lots of other ways around that type of stuff.
Mhm.
Um, I don't. I think it's more of a kind of like with UAPs. The government doesn't want folks to know that they can't control what they don't understand,
Right.
because that's unsettling.
Yep.
Um, so this is just one more thing in that category of, they may know about it, but can they do anything about it? I mean, I don't know. So
Yep. Yeah, I agree with you 100% on all of that. Yeah, absolutely. Robot, yes, they have actually. He was talking about why they haven't picked up more other animals like deer and coyotes, et cetera. They have. They've picked up deer on them. We've seen multiple occasions where they've seen deer on it, and there was a couple of elk that were picked up, and then elk were being stalked or watched by something, and that something was in that tall foliage, and was sticking up above it. And then the elk were a little bit down the hill. The elk saw whatever it was because their heads came up and were looking in that direction. You could see all this on the thermal. And then the big creature, whatever it was, sunk back down into the
yeah,
foliage and
couldn't
was
see it
gone.
anymore. Yeah,
You could only see the portion of it that was sticking up out of this tall foliage, and then it sunk back down real slow. It was all captured. We don't know what the big thing was, but yes, there have been other
yeah.
animals that have definitely been spotted. So,
And I think some of it is just the density of the woods that they're in,
mhm.
because there was that one point where Russell knew that they were being stalked by a cat, by a mountain lion cougar.
Yes, yeah,
They'd smelled it. It was behaving what he knew to be a cat, and yet they couldn't see it on thermal.
mhm,
I so it's not necessarily that Bigfoot is able to cloak. It could just be really, really good at hiding. I don't know, but it seems like there are times when people can hear and feel the impact of the footsteps,
yeah,
and
mhm,
hear it, within an open distance where
right,
there's nothing between them,
right,
and where they're seeing or perceiving the sound to come from, and they see nothing.
right.
So it's, again, one of many things on the list of things we need to solve.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with Little on this, that I think that the Expedition Bigfoot is the best Bigfoot series, a TV series like this. Yes, I
Yeah.
mean Les Stroud's Bigfoot series is very, very good,
Hmm.
and I think he covers it very, very well.
Yeah.
But I think as a TV series or show like this, yeah, I think that one's great. It's done in a very good. It's not just an embarrassing mess. Yes, very
Yeah.
well said. Um, Let's see. See what does the somebody was talking about the polar bears. Here it is, right here. Did you know that the polar bears cover their noses when they're looking into seal holes so the seals can't see them? I did not know that. How do they do
That's
that?
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Just cover it with their paw.
I,
Yeah. Great.
I don't know. I don't know. How do they do that? That's interesting, though. I did not know that.
They're pretty good at it, though. Seal
Yeah,
hunting.
yeah. Yes, they are. That's what they do, right? Does the amount of fat
With their
under the
paw.
skin have something to do with giving off a heat signature? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
I
know.
I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, it really depends on the temperature of the skin, because Russ talked about how he actually went under the water
Yeah.
in the
Yep.
stream, let the water flow over his skin, took his shirt off, and then stood up, and you couldn't see him on thermal
Yep.
because his skin had cooled. So I don't know that it necessarily that the fat is really as much of an issue as the temperature of the skin at the time. So whether it's cool out, is there mist falling, and there are some limitations to those thermal cameras. I mean, they're not perfect. I was impressed that Russ was able to get that large heat signature in season 1 that was across the field. That's why you saw the deer, and the deer wasn't lit up. Well, there's a limit to that distance that the thermal camera is going to be able to pick up heat. And register it. So it just kind of looked, you could tell it was a deer, but it was just the shape. There was no heat signature. Then this other thing that was huge was just lit right up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bigfoot must be huge because the elk are huge. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're somewhere between a deer and a moose.
Yeah.
In size. Yeah. The Legend of Boggy Creek. Boy, I haven't heard that in a long time. The best Bigfoot movie ever. I saw it when I was 9 years old. And what did you think of it when you saw it at 9 years old? Did it freak you out? The hairs of a polar bear are hollow.
Yep.
Look like sunlight passes through into the black skin. One-way ticket. Interesting. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's like a greenhouse.
Fat is an insulator. Thermal differences, however, still could appear. Yep. Oh, here's another question. Robot Scott, he's the one with all the big questions. So last week you described the different colors of Bigfoot come in. With spring here, can Bigfoot transform the color of the coat color?
I haven't heard the coat color changing, but there have been, when people see them, the coats, the description of their hair, not coat, but their hair can be all over the map, from it looked pristine and groomed to it looked matted and sickly, like the hair was falling out. So I don't know if they molt like some animals do, where it would fall out. I wouldn't expect the color to change though.
Right.
But yeah, there's a wide variety of descriptions of how the hair looks, whether or not it's got twigs and leaves and mud in the hair, or it looks pristine and was shiny. Just depends.
Yeah. Oh, Vesta said she was horrified by that movie when she was 9. Yeah. So anyway, lots of interesting stuff here. You know, we haven't really even touched on the gifting and all that kind of stuff too, but yeah, interesting stuff. We are going to continue. Yeah, that's Russ's superpower, is his sense of smell.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. That's what he said. If I had a superpower, it's my sense of smell. And he really seems to, because he's always talking about that, smelling a cat, and he knows the difference between them as well. So, yeah, interesting stuff. All right, folks, that's it. That's all we got for tonight. And I tell you what, we are going to try to get this wrapped up in like 2 more Thursdays. We're going to cover episodes 11, 12, and 13. And then I think there's 14 and 15. I think there was 15 in the season, wasn't there? I think that something like that. I think there was
I don't know if there was anything past 12. I guess I don't recall.
Well, we're going to try to get this wrapped up, and then we're going to do a little bit. If we wrap up before, and it looks like we are going to probably wrap this up before season 4 starts. So we'll have some other interesting things to talk about, Bigfoot related, as we wait for season 4 to come along and get started, because that's what we want to really. I wanted to get through season 3, kind of cover and kind of give you guys an idea of how we're going to cover season 4 when it comes out, and talk about these things. So we're going to look at, because we're obviously going to get done with these before season 4 comes out. So we're going to add some new in content, and we're probably going to, I have a couple people already that are going to come on the show and talk about their Bigfoot experience. I had a meeting. I had a meeting with a guy on Sunday, and he described his Bigfoot experience to me, and he's actually had a couple, and I was impressed. I was very impressed with his story. So we've got a couple that are going to come on. So we're going to get some viewers, and I'm going to throw this out to you guys that are watching. If you have a Bigfoot experience that you would like to share with us, please email me. The email is down below in the description of the show, jfree906@gmail.com. Pretty simple. jfree906@gmail.com. Email me. Let me know that you have a story you'd like to share, because we'd like to have you come on and share it with us. If you'd rather call in, we'll work that out. If you'd rather not be on camera, we can do that too. It's, I got that capability of doing it in different ways. But let me know if you know of somebody that has a story. Ask them if they'd like to come on, because that's what we really want to do. And that's part of the investigation, is talking to people who have had experiences, which I have not had one. So I want to hear from you guys. All right. So give us a thumbs up if you like the content of our show here today. And if you want to help support the show, I do have a Patreon channel. It's patreon.com. It's spelled Patreon, Patreon. And it's JFree906 over there. If you want to help support the show, I really appreciate the supporters that we have over there already, the patrons we have. It really helps out to pay for all the, getting the show on and doing it every week. And if you want to buy a mug or something, or a tumbler, there's a link down below for that as well. So, but we really appreciate all you being here. Spread the word to your friends, anybody else that might be interested in this. Let them know about this, because this show will be up on YouTube for quite a while to come down the road. So, Mike Owen, thank you very much. Excellent as always, sir. I love your input. You are my my authority that I go to now for Bigfoot stuff. So you that's why Robot is always asking you. He says, "Question, Mike." He doesn't say Jeff.
Somebody said, "Mike, I had no idea you knew so much about Bigfoot." I said, "Neither did I," until people started asking questions, and I could answer them all. I
know you're great.
Crazy.
They have huge feet. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I thought they were saying I had big feet, but I do kind of. But yeah. All right. Anyway, thank you very much, folks, for being here with us tonight. We'll catch you next week for Bigfoot on Thursday night. We're going to continue with this, and of course, those of you that are into the Curse of Oak Island, we'll be doing Curse of Oak Island, episode number 18. There's only 4 left, as far as we can tell, before Skinwalker Ranch starts on the 18th. That'll be the finale, probably, of Curse of Oak Island. So we got about 4 left. And next Wednesday, we'll be talking about episode number 18. So, all right. Good night, everyone. Thank you for being here. We'll catch you next time right here on the JFree906 podcast. Good night.